Aquaman is the king of Atlantis and a superhero who is kind of looked down upon in media and constantly being depicted as being weak.
Hey, let her go.
Or what?
Or, I don't know, man, but you're lucky you're not doing that over here in the ocean.
Though the truth is, he's actually an incredibly powerful superhero. He's roughly 8 times stronger than a normal human being, meaning he can easily pick up a car and throw it, or jump over tall buildings in a single bound. He can also breathe underwater and telepathically control sea life. Now, controlling sea life may not seem that impressive, but it depends on the sea life you're controlling.
I'll slit his throat and claim the treasures of Atlantis.
As in the game Injustice: Gods Among Us, Aquaman controls an army of gigantic sea creatures that are so powerful they give the Justice League a run for their money. And with Khal Drogo playing him in the new Justice League movie and his own solo Aquaman movie, then perhaps people will finally see how powerful he is. Now, Aquaman, whose real name is Arthur Curry, has several different origins, with some big and some small differences to them. But this video is going to focus on the origin story told in the animated movie Justice League: Throne of Atlantis. We're first introduced to Arthur soon after his father has died. He's getting drunk in a bar and dealing with the loss of a loved one. Arthur is talking to a lobster. He's not actually using his telepathic abilities to talk to it, but is just venting his problems aloud, and the lobster happens to be there, so he's talking to it. Kind of in the same way that someone would talk to their pet, or to an inanimate object. For example, if I drop my phone, I'll go, "Oh, sorry," and then pick up the phone. Even though I know the phone can't hear me, I still say sorry because I don't want to hurt its feelings. But anyway, Arthur is still talking to the lobster when it's pulled out of the water by the cook, as someone is about to eat it for their dinner. Arthur is against this, more because he's drunk than anything else, and a bar fight breaks out with the man who wants to eat the lobster, and he and his friends gang up on Arthur Curry. The fight goes outside, and of course having superpowers kind of makes this an unfair fight. Though when one of them tries to stab Arthur in the chest with a knife, well, you kind of don't mind the fact they're getting beaten up after that. Arthur's skin is of course knife-proof and almost bulletproof. This combined with his super strength means he beats up the group with relative ease, considering the fact that he's very drunk. It's also worth stating that Arthur doesn't know why or how he has his super strength and his other superpowers. But nonetheless, they allow him to win the fight, and so he sets the lobster free in the ocean and heads back home. Meanwhile, in Atlantis, the Queen is dealing with a political issue with the surface world. Namely, her son, Prince Orm, has attacked a nuclear submarine that belongs to America and stolen some of the missiles.
The Navy wants their missiles back, and I want to know what happened.
I'll boom down there and check it out myself.
This is just one of many instances over the years where the surface world and Atlantis have either been at odds with one another or just come into contact with one another. And so the Queen decides that the moment has finally come when they need a ruler who knows more of the surface world, and who can forge an alliance between the surface world and Atlantis.
Your brother, Arthur, can bridge the peace between Atlantis and the surface. We can flourish together in peace.
Allowing Atlantis to come out of the shadows at long last and join the rest of the world. And so to this end, the Queen of Atlantis sends her bodyguard, Mira, to find her son Arthur Curry and bring him to her. However, when Mira arrives at Arthur's home to get him, she finds that a dozen or so troops of the Atlantean army are already there trying to capture him. She informs them to leave as she is under orders from the Queen, but when they refuse and then they attack her, she uses her powerful water controlling abilities to easily defeat them. She then takes Arthur to another location and fills him in on the fact that the Queen of Atlantis has sent for him and that the Queen is his mother. Arthur isn't exactly thrilled by this, since he doesn't really know his mother, and all he thinks of her is that she's a woman who abandoned his father and abandoned him when he was a kid. And of course, she did do this, so it's understandable that he would feel neglected.
She left, Arthur, and she's not coming back. It's just you and me now, son.
But Mira explains the full story. She explains that he is half human on his father's side and half Atlantean on his mother's side, which is where his abilities and the gills on his neck that allow him to breathe underwater come from. She tells him about Atlantis that's deep in the ocean with a society of people who live underwater. She also tells him that his mother was engaged to the new king of Atlantis as part of a royal arranged marriage, and if the king had known that Arthur existed, he probably would have had him killed, as he was a bastard who could be an heir to the throne and a threat to the king's own blood son taking the throne, Prince Orm. So the Queen's only choice was not to go near her son, or else she'd risk Arthur's existence becoming public knowledge to the other Atlanteans, and if the king had heard about it, he could have died. Mira also suits Arthur up in royal armour, which is where he gets his superhero outfit from. It's not actually a costume, the orange top is actually an Atlantean armour. Think of it like chainmail, but chainmail that's much more advanced and of course can go in the water. Now all of this is a lot for Arthur to take in, and he doesn't even know if he wants the throne of Atlantis. But things are taken out of his hands as he and Mira are attacked by creatures from the trench. They are called trenchers, and they are extremely strong and dangerous undersea creatures. However, Arthur and Mira are joined mid-fight by the Justice League, who have been looking for him as part of their investigation into the attack on the US submarine, and all of them together are able to fight off the creatures. Well, mainly it's Superman who scares them off, but the point being the Justice League, Mira and Arthur got rid of them.
Retreat.
And some of the Justice League decide to go with Mira and Aquaman to Atlantis, namely Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Superman and Green Lantern. These four go as their powers make it easy for them to go underwater. Meanwhile, in Atlantis, Prince Orm is confronting his mother about the existence of a bastard son, which he views as a betrayal to his father, and he's not about to let his throne go and give it to Arthur. At this point, the Queen reveals that she knows Prince Orm has been trying to stage a coup, and so he and Black Manta attack the Queen. Now, she has the power of the Trident of Atlantis, and this power easily enables her to overpower them. But she lacks the viciousness of Prince Orm, who gets up and stabs her in the back, killing her. You may wonder why she was so easily overcome when she's got such a powerful weapon in her hands, and the answer is simply because he is her son. She most likely doesn't expect him to attack her so viciously, and never thought that he would actually try to kill her. Either that, or she's just an incredibly bad warrior. But anyway, Prince Orm takes the trident, the crown, and the throne of Atlantis, and becomes King Orm. And he tells the public that she was killed by the surface world, and declares this an act of war. Now shortly after this, Arthur, Mira and the Justice League arrive in Atlantis, and they discover that the Queen is dead. They then go to the royal palace and meet King Orm in his battle armour.
You killed her!
I did. I ran the sword through her myself.
He confesses to killing his mother, and uses the magic of the trident to defeat the Justice League and place them in stasis cocoons. You may wonder how King Orm was able to overcome Superman, considering how powerful he is, but the Trident of Atlantis is powered by magic, and Superman is vulnerable to magic. The cocoons are then taken to the trench creatures for them to eat, which is where Orm's plan goes wrong. He thinks that they are defeated, as only those of royal blood can control the magic of the Trident, so they won't be able to counter the magic that is keeping them in stasis. But he forgets that Aquaman is half royal, and so he can control the magic, and he uses this control to break free of his cocoon and then frees the others, with the help of a whale whom he telepathically controls. Mira, Arthur and the Justice League then head to where the Atlantean forces are attacking the surface world in order to stop Orm's army and hopefully stop this war between Atlantis and the surface world before it goes too far. A bloody fight ensues that almost kills Cyborg. Though Batman is able to restart his heart using a taser, and then Cyborg stops the fighting. The reason for this is that Cyborg is able to project his memories. Anything that he sees is recorded in his cybernetic brain and can be played back at a later date. So he plays back Prince Orm's confession of killing his mother to the entire Atlantean army. The army then turn on Orm as he committed an act of treason and killed their beloved queen. With Orm's treason exposed, he is defeated and taken to prison, and Arthur Curry is able to step in, take the trident, and become the new king of Atlantis. And his first act is to order the Atlantean army back to Atlantis. Later on, the Justice League are invited to Atlantis for Arthur's official coronation. After this, the League talk and decide that they need to act more like a team and meet up more regularly and add new members. And with that in mind, they ask Arthur if he'd like to join the team, and he eagerly accepts. They also decide that he's going to need a code name, and since everyone on the internet is calling him Aquaman, a name which he actually hates, they decide to call him Aquaman. And that is the origin of Aquaman. So although he is looked down upon a lot in media, he is actually a pretty interesting character, and if you get the chance, I'd fully recommend reading his solo comic, because it's actually a really good read. And it'll be interesting to see what changes are made to this origin in the live action movies. But what do you think of this origin? And what changes would you like them to make in the live action movies? Be sure to let us know in the comments, and I'd just like to say a quick thank you to those who made this video possible by donating to the Needlemouse Productions page on Patreon. Patreon is a crowdfunding site that is helping us to bring you more videos each week and to raise funds for adapting comic book stories into short animated films. If you're interested in donating or just want to find out more, a link is in this video's description. And as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.